All right. This is going to be the most podcast style episode of Late Night with Ryan we will probably ever do. By we, I mean me alone, because Austin Fisher is currently on a cruise right now with his family. So he will not be joining me today for the Monday night episode. Should be our last pre-recorded episode for a long while, hopefully ever. Hopefully we just go live till the end of time. Because next week we'll be back at school. We'll be back going live Monday nights at 11 p.m. Very excited for that. We'll be going live pretty much right after Steelers-Texans wraps up next Monday, so it's going to be very exciting, and I'm looking forward to that. So this should be our last pre-recorded episode. I appreciate anybody who's been tuning into the pre-recorded episodes, knowing the fact that it's not really the format I love to do for the show, but we're still getting me and Fisher out there doing our takes like usual. So we're still trying to deliver stuff to you all, even though I understand it is not the usual format. So I appreciate it if you're still dropping by and checking in. For anybody who listens to this in the podcast format, I also appreciate you too. So thank you to anybody who's been tuning in. But the NFL season is over. We had an absolute excellent season, and we are now moving into the playoffs. We went 4-2 on our EV passes last week. So Fisher will not be joining me for this episode, as I said before. But if we wanted to know what happened in primetime picks last week, he and I had all the same picks. We both picked Panthers, we both picked Seahawks, and we both picked Steelers. We went 2 out of 3 on that, so 2-1 on that. And I will look back and calculate who won overall primetime picks after we do the Super Bowl, because this week he sent me his playoff picks, and we will talk about everything going on at the NFL playoffs here in a moment. But the big thing I want to tell you all is that we will be going live January 8th. That is this Thursday. The show will be going live format. It'll be me in here, live, delivering my favorite episode of the Sort of Sports podcast, and what I'm very excited to deliver now on Late Night with Ryan, and that is the Sort of Sportys, named after the Sort of Sports podcast. It is going to make its first ever live appearance, and it's going to premiere on Late Night with Ryan on this YouTube channel, Ryan Klinger. If you're listening to this in the podcast format, it's on my YouTube channel, Ryan Klinger, Thursday at looking at 11 o'clock, I think is going to be the time we start, just like Late Night with Ryan on Mondays. We're going to do 11 o'clock Thursday night. That is going to be the Sort of Sporties. We do awards for music. We do awards for TV. We do awards for movies. And by we, I mean just me. There is no team. It is me running the Sort of Sporties. The only award show in which every award is decided by yours truly. That's a true thing. There was no other award show that they let me vote on. So it's a big deal. Now, maybe it's because I declined their opportunity, or maybe it's because they've never offered me an opportunity. But regardless, the Sort of Sporties will be Thursday at 11 p.m. going live on YouTube. Very, very excited for that. So pretty much watch Ole Miss versus Miami. I almost said Georgia. Watch Ole Miss versus Miami, and then come tune in. For what it's worth, college football this weekend, I think I believe in Ole Miss. I think I have Ole Miss in Indiana, because you guys know I think Indiana's going to win the Natty, and I think Kurt Signetti might be the new Nick Saban, and he might be building a very special program. They killed it in the transfer portal. Absolutely killed it in the transfer portal this week. They got Nick Marsh, who I really like, out of Michigan State, and they got Josh Hoover, TCU's quarterback, which I've heard good things about before. I really haven't watched him that much, but might want to bet him Heisman first time you can get the odds, because I think Signetti's building a really special program. I'm really excited to see what goes on with Indiana in the future. That's what I'm saying. This is going to be a very podcast-like episode, because we're not doing a cutaway gag this week. We're not really doing any of the things I usually like to do with Late Night with Ryan. But there's going to be a lot more production going into this Thursday's episode, because it will be live, so I'm very excited for the Sort of Sporties. And with that, let's start talking about the NFL. Head coach is fired. As of right now, there have been 6 openings. I do not believe there's going to be any more. It doesn't seem like it. So what we have is the Browns' job is open, the Falcons' job is open, the Giants' job is open, the Cardinals' job is open, the Raiders' job is open, and the Titans' job is open. The guys who do not have their jobs anymore: Brian Callahan, Pete Carroll, Jonathan Gannon, Brian Daboll, Raheem Morris, and Kevin Stefanski. The Kevin Stefanski one, I think, is a big deal, because you guys know I'm not a big fire Stefanski guy. Won the Browns their first playoff game in 18 years. Probably the best Browns head coach since the team has been back in Cleveland, I would say. Very dangerous to get rid of Stefanski. And even though you guys know I'm big on Shador, is there a head coach out there who's really excited about coaching Shedeur Sanders? They need to find that guy. Because next year is the year where we find out if Shedeur Sanders is the guy in Cleveland, definitively, right? So they need to look into that. And I think out of all of these jobs that are going to be open, the best job, I would say, is the Atlanta Falcons job. I think they have the most talent out of any of these teams. The only problem is quarterback, right? I'm not a huge fan of Michael Penix. Kirk Cousins is seemingly not at a starting quarterback level anymore. But if you could get Kyler Murray in there, or one of the other quarterbacks going to be available this offseason, or you really believe Michael Penix somehow, that's a great job. And it seems like Stefanski is going to interview with the Falcons. I think it was Falcons, Giants, and Titans are the 3 jobs. And I think the Titans are an underrated job. I think it's a hard job, but I do think you have the franchise quarterback in place. I think Cam Ward had a really underrated rookie year. I mean, I'm going to put that out on I literally made a TikTok about it, and I have a reel that's about to drop in about 10 minutes that actually says that. But it's already been out, so once you've seen this. But I think Cam Ward had a really underrated rookie season. He only threw 8 interceptions. I think people thought he would throw more than that. He did throw for over 3,000 yards. He didn't throw a lot of touchdowns, but, guys know I'm not a huge stat guy when it comes to quarterback, a lot more eye test based. I'm telling you, with the eye test, he has some moments where you're like, wow. And I know that's a bit dangerous to be like, oh, well, he's got moments, but he's not consistent. I understand that. But I think Cam Ward could be consistent, and I think Cam Ward could be really, really good in the NFL. So if he gets the right coach, I think the Titans just need to build around Cam Ward, and they could really be something. So I wonder if you're Stefanski, it's 2 opposite situations. You have the team, but you don't have the quarterback, or you have the quarterback, but not the team. To me, those are the 2 best jobs, the Titans and the Falcons job. Everywhere else, maybe the Giants job. I actually take that back. The best job is probably the Giants. I don't know why I wasn't saying that before. I think the Giants is the best job because I think you might have everything. Because you have Malik Neighbors, an elite wide receiver. You have Cam Scadaboo, who's going to be a good running back for you. You have Jackson Dart, who I think is going to be your franchise quarterback. And then you have a defense that has a lot of talent on it. Brian Burns, very talented. I don't know why it took me a moment to remember Abdul Carter's name, but it did. Abdul Carter, very talented. Right, so there's a lot of talent on the Giants. They just need another good draft. You don't have a terrible draft pick. You don't have a great draft pick, but not a terrible draft pick. So I would say the Giants would be probably the best job. Then I would say Giants, then Falcons, then Titans, and then probably the Raiders, then Cardinals, and then Browns. Browns is the worst job, I think. Yeah, I think Browns is the worst job. Because the defense is already good. No, I take it back. The Cardinals is the worst job. I take it all back. The Browns is not the worst job. The Cardinals is the worst job. And you're like, how is the Browns not a better job than the Raiders? Because the Raiders are going to get Fernando Mendoza, and I think Mendoza is going to be good. So I think that's a better job. So that's kind of where I'm at with that one. I'm just saying. So the best coach here, though, is Kevin Stefanski. I think Kevin Stefanski is the best coach out of all the ones that are fired. I don't know if Raheem Morris is really going to get another head coach job. I could see him kind of going to be rehabilitated as a coordinator and then probably getting hired again in the future. He's not terribly old. I don't know Raheem Morris's age, but I don't think he's that old. He's going to be 50 this year, so he's still got a decent amount of time ahead of him to coach. He's not like a young candidate, but I'm saying it's not like he's an older coach. So I think Raheem Morris could definitely go somewhere, prove himself for 3 to 4 years, and become a head coach again. Kind of like Dan Quinn did, right, with the Falcons, oddly enough. But Kevin Stefanski is probably the best one. He is probably the Mike Vrabel of this set, where it's like, okay, which former head coach is going to be a great get? And I wonder with Stefanski, where the next team he goes, it's going to be the Andy Reid Kansas City effect, right? Andy Reid was a coach for the Eagles, and he was good but not good enough. Then he goes to Kansas City, puts it all together, and puts the best, creates the next dynasty, right? And I wonder if that's what's happening with Mike Vrabel in New England. He was good with the Titans, but not good enough. Now he's in New England, and New England is starting to have some Chiefs energy to me. And I will get to that more when we talk about playoff predictions. I think that obviously shows I'm going to put New England far. But there are some similarities there that I find quite interesting. And I wonder if Kevin Stefanski is the next guy we see like that. And if so, I'd love for him to be really good at the Titans, because I have a soft spot for this Titans team. I think I'd like to see them be good. So, okay. My one prediction, though, of what I think will happen, I think Brian Flores, who's deserved a head coaching job for years now, it's insane to me he's not a head coach. I thought it was crazy the Dolphins got rid of him in the first place. I think Brian Flores and Dayball are going to go be the coaches in Vegas. I think Dayball will be the OC. Flores will be the head coach. Brady likes those guys. At least I literally read a report that said Brady likes those guys. So I'm not just making that up. Brady likes those guys, so I could definitely see them. I think both of them worked at the Patriots at some point too when Brady was there, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that would be the Vegas crew, and if that's the crew for Fernando Mendoza, like, watch out, because Flores is going to whip the defense into shape, and Dayball is going to let Fernando Mendoza rock out, and he's going to have Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty with him. So, and the Raiders, not only do they have the number 1 pick, they're going to have a top pick in the second round, which is also important. So, they get the 33rd pick, right? Isn't that how that works? Maybe I'm dumb. I think that's how that works. So, okay, let's go into NFL awards, and then we'll get into the NFL playoffs. So, NFL awards. Offensive Player of the Year is pretty cut and dry. It's clearly Jackson Smith and Jigba. He did not break Megatron's record, but he still had a really strong season. Jackson Smith and Jigba pretty clearly going to end up being your Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year is Myles Garrett. Congrats to him on hitting the 23 sacks. That's a big deal. So credit to Myles Garrett. Rookie of the Year, Tedero McMillan. I think with the Panthers making the playoffs, which we got to say, I just dropped my phone. My Carolina Panthers made the playoffs for the first time since I was in 7th grade. I don't care that we had a losing record since we made the playoffs. It was such a weird situation. The Falcons and the Saints. And I just want to say, and I'm not usually a blame the refs guy. I'm really not. But I don't think I've seen a game that poorly officiated in my life. Buccaneers-Panthers had, I think, 5 different times where I was like, this is one of the worst calls I've seen all season. And it had definitively the worst call I've seen all season, when they said that it was a backwards pass ruled a fumble that went out of bounds, when the ball never went out of bounds. And they blew the play dead. That was the worst call I've seen this season. It was absolutely terrible. And if we're going to talk about games that happened over the last weekend, that Sunday Night Football game, Rodgers, one last ride for Aaron Rodgers, one last comeback victory. What an awesome Sunday Night Football close out the season game. That was so much fun. I had an absolute blast watching that one. I was up on my feet cheering for the Steelers. I wanted to see the Steelers beat the Ravens because a friend of mine who's a Ravens fan was being pretty annoying about the Ravens the other day. So I wanted to see them lose. And I think it's interesting with the Ravens because, we talked on the show before that might have been a loser leaves town match. Harbaugh might be out. And we do not have a report that Harbaugh's out yet. It does not seem that John Harbaugh is going to be let go by the Baltimore Ravens, which I think is good. I don't think he should be out. I would be shocked that if John Harbaugh is let go, but obviously it could happen. But I don't think he should be. I think he's a very good coach, and he's also coached the Ravens since I was 3 years old. So that's kind of weird for me to think about anybody else coaching the Ravens, honestly. But that game was electric, and it was crazy because as soon as Boswell missed PAT, I'm like, oh, that's game. I'm like, the Ravens are going to be able to get a field goal. And then they had a great return on the kickoff, and it was like, oh no. And then Isaiah Likely pulled in just an absolute absurd catch. And then Tyler Loop missed it. It was insane. Such an insane game. And I actually have a video that's going to come out. I'm going to spoil my own video. I have a video I'm going to put out on TikTok on Tuesday. And Reels. I put them out on both. Yeah, I guess I should say that. I am on Instagram if you don't already follow me. It's Ryan Klinger 1 is what that is. Same picture that I use for YouTube and TikTok. Just picture me in the cowboy hat. Funny thing is, I'm in a Cavs sweatshirt in that photo, and I'm not like a Cavs fan. I just had like Cavs sweatshirt because I was a Cavs fan when I was younger. Then I transitioned to the Pistons. Oddly enough, the year that the Pistons had the biggest losing streak in NBA history. So, once I decided to stick through that, I was truly a Pistons fan. So it's just funny. I mean, it probably should replace the photo at some point, but it's whatever. So, continuing. Just an electric closeout, and I think to myself, I wish the NBA never went against the division deciding the playoffs, because that's how you get great games like that. the Panthers thing, people are making fun of us making the playoffs without a winning record. The fact that the division matters makes everything more interesting. It does. Like, you have to win your division games. They matter. And you play those teams twice, and there's always one division at the end of the year that it comes down to the last game. And there were two divisions this year, except it ended up coming down to a game that neither team was in, which is weird. And I pretty much fully believe the NFL rigged Browns-Steelers to give us that Sunday Night Football game, but that game was electric, so I can't be mad. And I just, I wish the NBA never went away from the division thing, because it'd make the regular season more interesting. The NBA has done a really poor job at de-emphasizing the regular season and then wondering why people don't watch the regular season. Like, once you do the play-in and once you do divisions not mattering, then the regular season is less interesting. If more teams make the playoffs and the playoff seeding does not really matter by divisions, all of a sudden the regular season doesn't really matter that much. Like, it doesn't matter if the Nuggets play the Thunder and lose. And it would if there were divisions. It would. So I just find that incredibly frustrating. So, because like then the Nuggets are like, oh crap, well, we're not playing as well in our division, or it's, the Pacers and Cavs being in the same division would be in the Pistons. Pacers, Cavs, Pistons, and Bucks are all in the same division, Central Division. And yet it doesn't matter. And in a world where if the Pacers don't win their division, they're the 4 seed, and that's the difference between the 1 and the 4 seed. That's interesting, right? I guess the Pacers aren't a good example because they're not good this year, but like the Pistons and Cavs, right? If the difference between the 1 and 4 seed is that would be interesting, So it's whatever. I just wish they would go back to that. It makes more sense. It's, for a big NBA guy, I have a lot of problems with league. I think it's because I care. I do care, but I cut myself off like halfway through the awards section we were doing. But very excited for my Carolina Panthers to make the playoffs. And it was a great NFL weekend. So, okay, Rookie of the Year is going to be, Offensive Rookie of the Year, I should say, is going to be Tedro McMillan. He's the only receiver to hit 1,000 yards. Tyler Shuck is good. I'm afraid of what the division is going to look like next year if the Falcons get a new coach that's competent. Not that Raheem Morris wasn't competent. Well, he wasn't against the Panthers. I mean, he quite literally handed us the division. So, so I would say Offensive Rookie of the Year is going to be Tedro McMillan, and Shuck would be interesting, but I'd love to see if Shuck is this good next year. I will say that's an important piece. Is he just doing well now because no one has any film on him? They're going to watch him. Is Shuck going to be as good next year? That'll be interesting, but we'll have to see. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I think it's pretty clearly Carson Swessinger. He's been really good for the Browns all year, and a linebacker that doesn't make a lot of wow plays, but makes pretty much every solid play whenever I watch the Browns. So Carson Swessinger, quite deserving. Kind of looks like Sunshine from, remember the Titans get the long blonde hair? He's from UCLA. I think it's fun. Anyways, Coach of the Year, Mike Vrabel. I think it should be Mike Vrabel. I get the argument for Mike Macdonald. You guys know I'm a big Mike Macdonald fan. I took the Seahawks winning this division at the beginning of the year. I was right on that. I didn't think they'd be this good. Big fan of Mike Macdonald. If Mike Macdonald wins it, I'm not upset. I just think Vrabel took a team that was one game away from the number 1 pick last year. Like, if Joe Milton doesn't absolutely go off week 18 last year, the Patriots are the number 1 pick. Like, that's the difference we're dealing with here. And so the Patriots could have, you think they would have taken Travis Hunter instead of Will Campbell? If they had the number 1 pick, I think there's a chance they would have, which wouldn't have been the right move. Will Campbell's really good. He's like their only really good offensive lineman. So, Mike Vrabel should be Coach of the Year. And this brings us to MVP, because there is a massive debate right now for who should be MVP, Matthew Stafford or Drake May. If you purely look at the stats, people will tell you it's Matthew Stafford. You guys know I'm like, when it comes to MVP in any league, right, I pretty much figured out the system for the NBA. You need team success, so you have to have like a top 3 record in the NBA. You need narrative. It has to be an interesting story, and previously winning it affects that story. And you need statistics. You look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander versus Jokic last year. Shai had a better record. Shai had about the same level of statistic. He averaged more points. Jokic was averaging a triple-double, but Shai averaged more points. Narrative-wise, the narrative was not in Jokic's favor. That's the tiebreaker, right? Because Jokic had won it in 2024, it gave Shai a better chance at 2025. Just the truth. This year for the NBA, the narrative is on Jokic's side. But the team success of the Thunder might be too good. If they win 68 games, Shea's probably going to win it, despite the fact their stats are basically even, I would say, as far as impressive level. So you go to the NFL. What matters? Very similar things. Team success, narrative, statistics. Why did Josh Allen beat Lamar? Lamar's stats were better. Well, Josh Allen had better narrative. He did. I think the team success was about the same too. Let's check. I want to make sure I don't say something incorrect here. Let's go to last year's standings. Bills went 13-4, Ravens went 12-5. So really not that much of a difference. And the narrative was fully on Josh Allen's side. It was. He's never won it before. It felt wrong. We all felt like he was the best quarterback in the league. About last year, it felt like he took that leap. And I think he deserved it. So it's cool. But this year, Stafford has the better stats. He flat out does. Stafford's thrown for over 4,000 yards. Drake May is just a little bit underneath 4,000. Stafford has like 12 more touchdown passes. Now, Drake May leads the NFL in completion percentage. That's pretty impressive for a guy who he's very efficient, right? You know what? I don't know why I'm doing this. I'll just flat out pull. I mean, I'm sure everybody's talking about this in their show for whatever you're watching. But like I warned you, this is going to be the most podcasty episode of Late Night with Ryan ever. We're essentially just doing an episode of the Sort of Sports podcast here on Late Night with Ryan, which isn't what I usually try to do, but this is just the way this worked out. Okay. We're just going to compare 2025 Matthew Stafford to Drake May using Pro Football Reference. Here we go. Drake May has the better record. He went 14-3. Matthew Stafford went 12-5. Okay. Drake May's completion percentage is absurd. 72% is crazy. Passing yards. It actually wasn't as different as I thought. I take that back. Stafford has 4,707. Drake May has 4,394. Passing touchdowns. This is the difference. Matthew Stafford has 15 more. 46 touchdown passes to 31. They both have thrown 8 interceptions. As far as rating, Drake May has 113.5 and Matthew Stafford has a 109.2. So that's interesting, right? Because other than the touchdown passes, I think it's Drake May. But Stafford has more touchdown passes. Narrative-wise, one would argue it's on Drake May's side. He's the new hotshot quarterback. He's in New England. People are saying he's the next Brady. You know what I mean? Like, insane thing to say for what it's worth. I love Drake May. He is, like, saying anyone is the next Brady is just an absurd thing to say. But the narrative is actually on Stafford's side. I think people want to see him win one. I think people feel like he's been underrated for a while. Fisher and I have said that before on the show, that he's been underrated for a while, and he has. Pretty clearly, I'd say the best quarterback in the NFC. And I think people want to see him win one before he retires. So I actually think it will be Matthew Stafford. I do. I cashed out one of my Drake May MVP tickets. I have another one I kept. I got it at better odds, so I kept that one. But I think Drake May should win it. He is my MVP. I think Drake May fully deserves it. I think his team is worse, and yet he's had a better record. Now, the argument is like, oh, the easy schedule. That's been the big thing. That's so stupid. That is so stupid. Like, come on. Really? Really? He beat the Bills in primetime. We all watched it. We all watched him beat the Bills in primetime. I understand he doesn't have that many wins over winning teams. I understand that. I think he has like one win over a winning team, and it's that Bills primetime victory. I understand that. But in the same sense, he didn't design the schedule. I think it will end up being Matthew Stafford. I just think it's one of those we're going to look back, and if the Rams end up losing in the divisional and the Patriots make the Super Bowl, we're going to be like, oh, it could be a 2023 Jokic Embiid situation. I'm just saying. Not that Stafford is Embiid. Not what I'm saying. Obviously, Stafford's won a Super Bowl. But I am saying it could be the situation where we're like, ooh, we messed up, and we get like instant karma on that. So I think Drake May should win it. Drake May is my MVP, but I think they're going to go Stafford because the narrative is on his side. Everybody on ESPN wants Stafford to win it. Everybody that like works in football like seems to want him to win it. It seems to be more so like the general audience believes it to be Drake May. So that's where I'm at. Okay, let's look back now at my beginning of the year NFL predictions that I presented to you all on my podcast, the Sort of Sports podcast, which some of you may be listening to this on. Some of you might be watching this on Late Night with Ryan. If you're watching this at 11 p.m. Monday night and this isn't live, you're just watching like it premiere at 11 p.m., that's very kind, and I really appreciate it. Okay. Ba, 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 ba. Where is my NFL predictions? Oh, I was looking in the month of September, not August. That's on me. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to pull up the real NFL standings so I can compare. All right. So, let's start with the NFC. In the NFC North, I had the Lions winning, going 13-4, the Vikings second at 10-7, the Packers third at 9-8, and the Bears fourth at 7-10. The Packers ended up going 9-7-1 and being in second. The Bears ended up winning the division 11-6. At the beginning of this year, I was not in on the Bears. I was telling everybody they were overrating how good Ben Johnson would be, blah, 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 and I was completely wrong. You guys have watched me completely flip where I'm at on the Bears. Now I'm pretty much a Bears fan at this point. Not really, but you guys know what I mean. I am rooting for this Bears team. They've become a team I really look forward to watching, and I've completely flipped on the Bears, and I was so wrong about them at the beginning of the year, and so that's on me. The Lions I had at 13-4. Obviously, they did not have that level of season. They went 9-8. I was only one game off for the Packers and Vikings, though, as the Vikings went 9-8. And if the Packers didn't tie, they would be 9-8 if they didn't tie with the Cowboys. So it's pretty funny. But the way I had the division was almost reverse of reality because the Vikings and Lions tied for 9-8, but it was almost perfectly reverse of what happened. Let's go to the NFC West. I had the Seahawks winning at 10-7. The Seahawks did win, but they went 14-3, much better than I thought. Rams, I didn't even think would be that good. I had them at 8-9. Niners, I had 7-10. Cardinals, I had at 6-11. Cardinals were bad. They went 3-14. Niners were third at 12-5, and Rams were second at 12-5. If I would have bet that directly, I would have been right because I did have the order correct. So good job by me. All right, NFC East. I had the Commanders winning at 12-5, and this is my biggest mess up this year. Honestly, I don't think I did that poorly in NFL predictions this year. It's probably the best I think I've ever done since I've started the podcast. There's really nothing I got too wrong other than this. The Commanders, I thought were going to have a big year. I had Jaden Daniels winning MVP. I thought this guy is one of the new quarterbacks. Like he's the fifth best quarterback in the NFL instantly. Bang, here he is. And the Commanders were not that. And now next year they're entering a year where it's, okay, well, how good is Jaden Daniels? Was that a C.J. Stroud rookie year thing, or is he really one of the best quarterbacks in the league? And next year will really decide that. And I was completely wrong. They went 5-12, a reverse of what I thought. And they came in second to last in their division because the Giants went 4-13. I had the Giants last in that division, but I had them going I had the Giants second to last in that division, and I had them going 7-10. I had the Cowboys last in division at 6-11. I don't know why I do this. I really, really don't believe in the Cowboys every year. I guess I was only off by one game, though. So maybe I didn't do that bad. I guess I believed in the Giants too much is really what happened. I believed in the Giants too much because it was only one game off the Cowboys. They went 7-9-1. I had them at 6-11, but they ended up coming second in that division. Eagles win the division 11-6. I had them second in the division at 11-6. So the record was right, but the commies just weren't that good. NFC South, I had the Bucs and the Panthers both making the playoffs. I had the Bucs at 11-6, Panthers at 10-7, Falcons third at 9-8, and the Saints fourth at 4-13. The Saints ended up going 6-11. The Falcons ended up being 8-9, and so were the Bucs and Panthers. They all went 8-9. The division ended up though Panthers first. So I should have just stuck to my Panthers. Let's flip over to the AFC. We'll start off with the AFC North. I had the Ravens winning it at 11-6, followed by the Bengals with 9-8, Steelers 9-8, and the Browns 5-12. The Browns did go 5-12. I was perfect on that, and they were fourth in their division. But third in the division was the Bengals at 6-11. Second in the division was the Ravens at 8-9, and the Steelers won and went 10-7. I was thinking that last night watching. I was like, credit to Aaron Rodgers going 10-7 with this Steelers team that I don't think has a ton of talent. So this Steelers team's interesting. I wonder if there's a chance they can upset the Texans. I do wonder. There's a part of me that wonders if there's a chance. By the way, tip to anybody betting this weekend. We're not doing EV passes this week because I don't have Austin, but he just said if you're going to bet anything, bet the under on Texans Steelers, which is a great poll by him. He's definitely right on that. All right, so what ended up really happening, though, like I said, Ravens did not win the division. And so let's go over to the AFC West. I had the Broncos winning the AFC West, followed by the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Raiders. I had the Broncos at 12-5. They ended up going 13. No, sorry, 14-3. I had the Chargers at 9-8. They ended up going 11-6. I had the Chiefs at 11-6. They ended up going 6-11. They're gonna have the 9th pick in the NFL draft. Probably gonna get Jeremiah Love. And then the Raiders, I had at 9-8. I believed in this Raiders team more than I should have. They went 3-14. They were awful. All right, AFC East, really proud of this one. I had the Patriots going 10-7, being the second seed. They ended up going 14-3. They were awesome. They're the number 1 seed. Bills, I had first at 13-4. They ended up going 12-5 and being the 2 seed. Jets, I believed in too much. They had them 6-11 at third. They ended up being 3-14 and were awful. First team since like the 30s to not catch an interception. We might never see that again in our entire lives. I'm being serious. Think about how much people pass. We haven't. It hasn't happened since the 30s, guys. This probably will never happen again. We watched a Jets team that didn't catch a single interception, which is insane. We think Aaron Glenn played corner when he was in the NFL. It's just crazy. Just crazy. Anyways, I had the Dolphins at 4-13. They were not that bad. They went 7-10 and were third in the division. Last division, AFC South. Really wrong on this one. This was, okay, I take it back. Commies and Titans were the 2 things I had very wrong. I thought the Titans were going to be a surprise this year. I said I didn't like Brian Callahan, but I kind of liked Cam Ward and some of the pieces on this team. Well, not kind of like Cam Ward. I was fully into Cam Ward. I just kind of like some of the pieces. Ended up being that Brian Callahan was way worse than I thought. I had them 10-7. They were second in the division to the Texans, who went 11-6. In real life, the Texans went 12-5 and were second in the division. The Titans went 3-14 and were last. I had the Jaguars going 7-10 and not making the playoffs. Jaguars ended up going 13-4 and being a complete shock this year. They're the number 1 team in the division. And then I had the Colts at 4-13. Thought they'd be drafting Arch Manning. Arch Manning didn't come into the league yet, and the Colts went 8-9. So that is what happened as opposed to what I believed would happen as far as NFL predictions. So that's it's I don't think the worst I've ever done, but nowhere near the best. Now I'm going to take you through. Austin sent me last night his picks for the NFL. So we're going to go through, and I'm going to do the wild card as if Austin and I were doing primetime picks. And I'm going to go through each game and give my thoughts on each, and I will pick the winner of each wild card game. And then after that, we'll do the divisional, given my picks, the conference championship, given my picks, and the Super Bowl, given my picks. But we'll run through Austin's first, okay? So let's start off with the 4 o'clock game on Saturday, Rams at Panthers. We're going to be at Bank of America Stadium. And by what, like, not me personally, but I'm saying the game will be at Bank of America Stadium. Very excited for my Panthers to have a home playoff game and the biggest of 2026. Happy 2026, everybody. And I am very, very, very excited to have the Panthers back in the playoffs. My concern, though, is the fact that we didn't look that good the last 2 weeks, and I'm afraid our best football is behind us. But in the same sense, I also think the best Rams football is behind them. I think the Rams may have peaked midway through the season. And it's an interesting year because we get these ideas about these teams, but it's a long season. There's 18 weeks, and things change. I think early on this year, the Packers were the best team in football for about the first 5 weeks. They eventually were not the best team in football. I think that credit then eventually went to the Broncos or the Rams. Then later in the season, the Texans started playing like they were the best team in football, along with the Seahawks. At the end of the year, the team that probably looked like the best team in football was the Seahawks. I would say that is the truth. So you have to keep in mind who kind of slowed down. The Chargers early on, people were telling me, oh, you messed up. You picked Drake May over Justin Herbert, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? They're playing each other in the wild card. I think you'd be an idiot to bet the Chargers. I do. The Chargers peaked way early on. And the Patriots stayed pretty steady, I'd say, the whole season. So credit to them. But one of the few teams that was steady. But like the Bears, they got way better as the season went on, in my opinion. So it's just really interesting to see what happened. But back to the Rams-Panthers. We did beat them early on in the year in a game that I was losing. I was so excited to see us beat a good team. And Bryce Young will randomly just have these really good games against good teams. So is there any possible way my Carolina Panthers beat the LA Rams? I actually believe so. And I think a lot of it is my bias, but I am saying we have done it before. We did beat them previously. I want you all to know that the line is 10.5 in the Rams' favor. That is the only spread this weekend that is more than 4.5. 4.5 is the second highest spread, and this game is 10.5. I think that this Rams team has its best football behind them, and I think the Panthers, it's weird, right? And it just would be really weird if they won one playoff game over the LA Rams. It would be a very odd thing to happen. And I actually kind of believe it's going to. I do, because I think the Rams have their best football behind them. I don't think they're playing at the level they played early on in the year. I mean, they didn't almost lose the Falcons. They fully lost to the Falcons 2 weeks ago, and I think the Panthers are better than the Falcons. And last week, the game against the Cardinals meant nothing. So, to me, I think there's a world of the Panthers. They sleep on the Panthers. They're looking ahead to the divisional. There's going to be one weird game out of this whole wild card weekend. There is. There's always one weird game where you go, really? That team won? That is going to happen. And for an NFL season that has showed us the entire year that there's really not that big of a divide between your best teams and your not as good teams. Like, 'cause there's a few teams that are really below everybody else, like the Browns, the Raiders, the Jets. Like, there's a few teams that are really below everybody else. But I am saying, overall, this NFL season has showed us the difference between some of these teams is not that great. I mean, the Packers lost to the Browns, and there's people that are telling me the Packers could be in the NFC Championship. So let's all take a moment. I understand it's one, any given Sunday. I get that, but maybe it's any given Saturday because Panthers-Rams is this Saturday, and I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers with a massive upset because you got to take one of the upsets. Do I have any other reasoning other than the fact that I could just see it happening? I will say Bryce Young legitimately played a really good game against the Rams last time, and you cannot run on the Carolina Panthers, and they cannot rely on Kyron Williams. They're going to have to. The way the Rams beat the Panthers is that Puka Nacua goes off. That is the way the Rams beat the Panthers, and I think it's very possible. We'll have to see what J.C. Horn can do against him. We don't really have any great linebackers. We don't. J.C. Horn is good, though, so let's see what J.C. Horn can do against Puka Nacua. I just think if the Panthers could drag the Rams into a 3-touchdown each team game, like a game that's combined scores below 40, the Panthers can win. If the Rams get out and go and it's a high-scoring game, the Panthers are dead in the water. You'll know by halftime if the Panthers have a chance to win the game. Because if it's a close game and the Panthers are hanging around, there's a real chance. If it's a low-scoring game, there's a real chance. If the Rams score if the Rams score 14 points in the first half, Rams are winning. That's the way I would see it. So I'm going to have the Panthers win, mostly for my own fun, because I want to see it happen. But obviously, Austin Fisher did not take the Rams to lose. He took the Rams to win, because most people are going to. And it's also one of those games that everybody's going to be betting. Everybody's going to be taking Rams 10.5. Everybody's going to be betting Rams money line. Everybody's throwing that in with everything. It's a given. And then that's the one that shocks everybody. That, to me, it's almost too easy, and I don't believe it's going to happen. When this year has shown us that, the Super Bowl favorite right now is like plus 440. The Seahawks, I think, are the favorite like plus 440. You should not have a favorite for the Super Bowl in the fours. Probably like a 2 or 3. 4, that's significant. Think about it. You bet $100 on the favorite, you would quadruple your money. To me, that is showing that the difference between these teams is not so great, and that's why the Panthers have a chance. Is this copium? Am I coping with the idea that I might watch my Carolina Panthers get publicly executed? Maybe. But I'm going to choose to believe. It's like in the end of the Stranger Things when Mike goes on his little speech and they're all like, I believe. I believe. That was low-key corny in the show, but I understand why they did it. You guys aren't ready for the Sort of Sportys where I actually talk well about Stranger Things Season 5. I don't think it was a masterpiece or anything. It's probably the weakest season, but I still liked it. It's still a pretty good show. Anyways, we'll say that for the Sort of Sportys Thursday, live, 11 p.m. But that is the Saturday afternoon game. The please don't watch this slot, which the Panthers got back-to-back weeks of. Yeah, thanks. Please don't do a 3-person booth again, though. That was just bad, and it was just bad, and it was so bad. Oh my gosh! And the refs being bad didn't help. It was just an awful game. Just an awful game. Like the worst ref game I think I've ever seen, and that's not an exaggeration. I really mean it. And then Orlovsky and Riddick in there, they were just talking over each other. 3-man booths are bad. Bill Simmons talked about it before in his show, and he's so right. 3-man booths are terrible. They never work. The only time they ever work is in pro wrestling. That's it. And even in pro wrestling, I don't like it. I like it. Actually, I take it back. I don't think it even works in pro wrestling. 2-man booth is better. WWE even learned this. They went away from it. They just got Wade Barrett and Michael Cole in there. It's better. 3-man booths suck. It doesn't work. Don't ever do a 3-man booth. I think they think it makes it feel like a big deal. It doesn't. It's terrible. Don't do it. Don't do it. Gosh, who is the Super Bowl this year? Is it Fox? Let me look it up. I'm just curious now. Because I know next year it's ESPN. It's a big deal. It's going to be on ESPN. Because for those of you that are like cable enjoyers like me and still have cable, like not YouTube TV, like real cable, like DirecTV, Dish, that type of stuff. It's a big deal that if ESPN has it, that is a non-public broadcast. You get what I'm saying? Like if you have an antenna, if you go to Walmart tomorrow and you bought an antenna and you stuck it out your window, not out the window, but like near the window, you guys know how the digital antennas work. You get NBC, CBS, Fox, boom. You don't have to pay for cable to get those. You just have an antenna, you can get them. That's not how ESPN works. You got to have cable to get ESPN. So it's a big deal the NFL is going to do that. It shows that they really believe in the Super Bowl in the way that also shows that they believe that like a lot of people have cable now or some form of it. Okay, NBC has it this year. Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Also, Charlie Puth's doing the national anthem. Hell yeah. NBC is the best, I would say, at making it feel like a big deal. Best crew is CBS. They have the best team. Probably second is ESPN, and then third. But I'm saying NBC, as far as making things feel like a big deal, NBC does a really good job of that. Player introductions to the Super Bowl, that'll be fun. Like I'm really excited to watch Pistons Knicks on Peacock tonight, which, as you guys are listening to this, has already happened. Hopefully my Pistons won. Okay. Let's move into the Saturday night game at 8 o'clock. We will be getting... I'm shocked this isn't the Sunday night game. I don't know who at Amazon Prime had to do what to get this as the Saturday night game. But Packers at Bears is the Saturday night game. And guys, I'm shocked. This should be the Sunday night game. This is the most historic rivalry in the NFL. This is an uber fun Bears team against a Packers team that people were really high on at the beginning of the year. I don't know how this isn't the Sunday night game. I think it's absurd. And I think someone at Amazon, what's the reverse of getting like somebody's head in a suitcase? You know what I mean? Or like somebody's thumb. Like what's the reverse of that? Like the mob sending in like somebody's thumb cut off. What's the reverse? What's like the good version of that? Like it's like a bunch of cash shows up on an envelope. Like an undisclosed envelope. The oh my gosh, like in Get Shorty, where like the box, like the little box, is that the airport, right? Like a box at the airport and there's cash is in it. That's what someone did for Amazon Prime. They had like the box and like a cash box at the airport, and or like Jackie Brown kind of does that too. Most Elmore Leonard stories do that, right? The money being hidden at like some public place, right? That's what somebody did at Amazon Prime to an NFL employee to get this to be the 8 o'clock Saturday night game. Like, there's a chance Patriots-Chargers isn't a close game. I'm just going to say that. I know people might think I'm crazy for that. I think there's a chance that, like, at halftime, you're like it's like 17-10, and the Patriots are getting the ball back, and you're like, and the Patriots go up 24-10 during the third quarter, and you're like, oh, this might be over. And you're kind of like, oh, it's a Sunday night game. Whereas, like, Bears-Packers could go into overtime, and it could be awesome. So, I'm shocked this is the Saturday night game. Very shocked. Okay, I have the Bears here. I think if I talked about it before, is there a 2021 Bengals team? I think the Bears might be the 2021 Bengals. I think they have the vibes of a team that is going to go very far in this playoffs, and I'm very high on this Bears team. I think they're exceptionally well coached, and I think in a year that has been weird. All right, here's my soapbox. Every year that we have an NFL playoffs or an NFL season where people are like, oh, this is such a weird year, people start throwing out goofy scenarios. And they're like, oh, what if the Super Bowl was Jaguars? What if the Super Bowl was Jaguars Bears? Or what if the Super Bowl was Broncos Niners? Like, just things that would feel a little weird. What if the Super Bowl was Steelers Niners? Right? Like, things that would just seem weird in 5 years looking back, right? People always like to throw out those crazy scenarios whenever we get like an odd pool like this, right? And you know what? It never happens like that. It never does. It never ends with a weird Super Bowl. It ends with a Super Bowl that you look back on and go, oh yeah. The only time I can think of a truly, truly weird Super Bowl like that is Super Bowl 47, the Harbaugh Bowl, Ravens over Niners. That's the only one I can really think of within recent memory. You could argue 2021, oh, that was weird. Bengals, Rams, really? Like the best quarterback in the NFC versus Joe Burrow, who at the time was arguably the second best quarterback in the entire NFL? Like, no, it's not that weird. It's not that weird looking back. It's just not. So I find it hard to believe we're going to end up with the Super Bowl. It's truly weird. And I'm not just saying this to shit on Austin's picks, because Austin's Super Bowl is weird. And I'm going to be I'm low-key hating it because he sent me his picks. And I just think you only get one weird team if you're going to make a pick this year. Like, you can't do Jaguars-Bears. Bears would be weird if they're there. Let's be honest. I like this Bears team a lot because I'm very high on it. It would be like, whoa, Ben Johnson first year has him in the Super Bowl. Caleb Williams like feels like he's a year or two away from being like an elite caliber quarterback, and yet here they are. This defense isn't exceptional like it was a few weeks ago. Okay, that would be odd, right? Even the Broncos, even though they're the number one seed, would feel weird. It would. I love Bo Nix. Big fan. This is a great defense. Probably the best defense in the NFL. It's them and the Seahawks. It would still be a little odd if you see the Super Bowl graphic and it's Bo Nix, Sam Darnold. Let's be honest, it's probably not going to be that. I know that they're the two number one seeds. It just never seems to work out that way. Just keeping that in mind. If whatever you're taking as a Super Bowl, think about how you view it in 5 years. Think about the quarterbacks. Think about the coaches. Think about the teams. In 5 years, will that be weird? That's an important piece, and that's going to factor into what I take. I'm taking the Bears over the Packers. I think this Bears team is better than this Packers team. I think this Packers team has lost its mojo, and I think this Bears team is legit. I like this Bears team a lot. Austin took the Packers. I texted him. I said, that's our team. What are you doing? You were the one that put me on the Bears and made me fall in love with this team and told me I was wrong about the Bears. What are you doing? And he said, and I quote, I built Rome, and now I'm going to burn it all. So Fisher's picks are quite wild. He is going very much against what he believed a few weeks ago. I don't know what's going on. Did the cruise affect him? Is the Havana effect real? A lot of interesting things happening here on Late Night with Ryan or the Sort of Sports podcast, however you're listening to this episode. So I'm going to say that the Bears beat the Packers, and Austin's going to say Packers beat the Bears. So let's go into the Sunday slate. Sunday at 1, we have Bills versus Jaguars. It's in Jacksonville. And this is the interesting one, in my opinion, because the Jaguars are an all-time weird team right now, but they went 13-4. Anybody who says this team isn't good clearly hasn't watched them. They've won a lot of games, and they are pretty good. The thing is that they went up against the Bills. If they didn't go up against the Bills, I think I would probably take them to win. If it was Jaguars-Chargers, I would have taken the Jaguars. I really would have. If it was Jaguars-Texans, I maybe could have talked myself into taking the Jaguars. But because they're playing the Bills, I find it hard to believe Josh Allen is going to go out in the first round of the playoffs. I just don't see it. I don't think his Bills team is great. I don't think his Bills team is winning the Super Bowl. I know there's going to be a lot of people that think his Bills team is going to win the Super Bowl. I don't think they are. It's a two-man team. It's just him and James Cook. And him and James Cook can only keep him going for so long, but they can keep him going long enough to beat the Jaguars. I'm sorry, Jaguars. Hopefully it's not a Saxonville situation where we all look back in 3 years and be like, whoa, they made the AFC Championship? I guarantee, do you remember that the Jaguars made the AFC Championship in 2017? Do you remember that? They almost went to Super Bowl and played the Eagles. Isn't that crazy? Perfect example of how there was only allowed to be one weird team. Because that NFC Championship was the Case Keenum, Nick Foles NFC Championship. And notice how we had to have Tom Brady in there to make it not a weird Super Bowl. I'm telling you, you only get one weird team. You only get one. And also the Eagles, in hindsight, if people didn't watch it, they don't realize how weird it was. They're like, oh, the Eagles are good. The Eagles have been to 2 more Super Bowls since then. Like somebody who's very casual, doesn't even realize who Nick Foles is. I'm just pointing out, you only get one weird team. Think about it. Think about it. Okay. I'm taking the Bills. Austin took the Jaguars. Austin's big on the Jaguars. We'll see that as we continue. 4 o'clock game on Sunday. That is Niners at Eagles. A little surprised they didn't give us a primetime slate. This smelled like a Monday nighter to me. But they decided to make this Sunday. I fully have the Niners here. I think the Niners are better than the Eagles. I think this Eagles offense can sometimes just stop existing. Their defense is really good. But this Niners offense has exploded. Now, granted, I don't think the Niners offense is consistent enough. They did not play well against the Seahawks. They didn't. They just flat out didn't. But I think they're good enough to beat the Eagles. I'd be shocked if the Eagles win a Super Bowl run this year. I mean, if you're going for the most plain Jane, safe pick, people are going to take Bills-Eagles. And I find it hard to believe either one of those teams is going to be in the Super Bowl. But that would be, after this crazy NFL season, you want to do the most obvious pick? That would be the one. Last year's champion versus the best quarterback in the NFL. That would be kind of hilarious if we went through all this crazy season and it ended with Bills-Eagles. I can't lie. But I have the Niners beating the Eagles, and so does Austin. That brings us to Sunday night game. Still shocked this Sunday night game. Chargers, Patriots. The Patriots are a good team. I think anybody who is blaming the schedule on their record is dumb because this is a good team. This is a truly good team. And this is where I get on my soapbox. The Patriots have a bit of 2019 Chiefs energy. Drake May's second year as a starter. His first full year as a starter, I would say, because he got hurt last year, so maybe that's a little more 2018 Chiefs, I guess. Mike Vrabel doing a bit of an Andy Reid. He was on a team and he was good but not good enough. Now he's on the Patriots and they're doing excellent. Drake May could be an MVP this year, just like Mahomes is an MVP. I guess there's an argument they're more 2018 Chiefs than they are 2019 Chiefs. But my point is they have a lot of the energy that you see when these dynasties are starting off early on. I'm not saying the Patriots are about to enter another dynasty. And I'm not saying Drake May is the next Mahomes. But I think there's a real possibility he is. I don't think this is without the question. I think if there is a team that is going to win the Super Bowl and then you're like, oh shit, they could win it next year too. They could be better next year. It's the Patriots. There's a chance the Patriots go to the Super Bowl this year, win it, and you're like, oh shit, that's Drake May's second year in the league, his first year as a starter. Like Drake May is younger than some college quarterbacks, and he just won the Super Bowl. So it's a very important piece to keep in mind here with this Patriots team. I think they have a lot of signs that you see early on. They're peaking a little early. Like I'm saying, it's like, whoa, they're 14-3 already. They're ahead of schedule, way ahead of schedule. Like this year they're supposed to win like 9, 10, 11 games, be a frisky team in the playoffs. They're not supposed to win the division. And I get the argument's a schedule thing, but at some point, what if they're just damn good? And I'm big in on the Patriots, guys. I think you can tell how big I am on this Patriots team. So I have the Patriots beating the Chargers. Monday Night Football, Steelers, Texans in Pittsburgh. I have flip-flopped on this so much. I think I'm going to bet the Steelers for fun, but I think the Texans will win. The Steelers are plus money. Texans are favored. I think I'll bet the Steelers for kicks and giggles. But I think the Texans are better. You should bet the under. This is not going to be a high-scoring game. I did say to Austin last week, the Texans are in dire need of an AFC Championship run. Like they don't have to win the AFC Championship. I'm saying get to the AFC Championship. And everybody goes, oh shit, yeah, they are good. And CJ Stroud is really good. And now we're back on track to where we were like 2 years ago, thinking about what the Texans are going to be, that they're going to be this perennial contender, and CJ Stroud is going to be an MVP level candidate. This is their way they get back to that. Is CJ Stroud plays a great playoffs, and we're all like, oh shit, CJ Stroud and this team is going to be a problem for years to come. If they lose the Steelers, I think all that kind of goes away. It's just a weird team again because they are a weird team. They're in a weird spot. So I'm going to take the Texans. Austin took the Steelers. So that's one where we differ. Now we get into full playoff predictions. I'm going to run down to you the rest of Austin's playoffs. So with that, the Steelers would travel to Denver for the divisional, and the Jaguars would travel to New England. He has the Jaguars winning and the Steelers winning. Quite wild picks for Mr. Fisher. The AFC Championship is then Steelers at Jacksonville. He has Jacksonville winning and going to the Super Bowl. Brings us over to the NFC. He has Packers at Seahawks and Niners at Rams. He has the Niners winning and the Seahawks winning. I know Austin Fisher is a big believer in that if the Niners every other year are making the NFC Championship. He has said they either miss the playoffs or make the NFC Championship. I guarantee that's why he did this. So that's why he has a Niners-Seahawks NFC Championship. He has the Seahawks winning that and going to the Super Bowl. Your Super Bowl would be Trevor Lawrence versus Sam Darnold, an electric Seattle defense, versus Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Super Bowl 60, Jaguars, Seahawks. He has the Seahawks winning Super Bowl 60. Quite a wild playoffs from Mr. Fisher. Going very much against what we talked about. I'm very interested to see what he defends his picks. Live and in person next Monday. Very excited. It'll be live on YouTube. We'll be back with the live show. We'll be doing stuff with Jonathan. We'll be doing Get Pissed On again. We'll be doing a lot more of the crazy segments, doing cutaway gags. Very excited for next week. But really interested to see how he defends this, because the Jaguars could just lose this week to the Bills, and then he's like, oh, shit. So crazy. Anyways, so my divisionals, we go to what I have. I have the Bills at Broncos, and I think the Bills could win this game. This is one I'd be sweating, though. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I think this Broncos team could very easily beat the Bills. I really do. This would be a tough one for both teams involved, but I'm going to take the Bills because I find it hard to believe the Bills aren't going to make the AFC Championship when Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the entire playoffs. So I'm going to take Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills to make the AFC Championship. In doing so, they beat a Broncos team that I think really could beat them. Like this is a pick that I'm not really confident in, but I must admit, a Broncos-Pats AFC Championship, just the 1 and 2 seeds in a year that's been all over the place. I find it hard to believe the 1 and 2 seed are going to be the AFC Championship. So I'm just looking at the patterns, right? So that gives us Texans at Pats. This Pats team can beat the Texans. I think it's actually a nice matchup for the Patriots. The Patriots don't have a great defense, but they have a great offense. They have a great quarterback. The Texans have an electric defense. Drake May, though, is good enough to overcome that. I think it's a really nice matchup. When you're the Patriots, you can beat the Texans, move on to the AFC Championship. AFC Championship is Bills at Patriots. Third time they've played this year. They split the series. This is the tiebreaker. This just feels right to me. AFC East deciding the AFC winner. It's been a thing the whole year, and who's going to win it? I think the New England Patriots. I think this is where it comes through, that they are a better overall team than the Bills. You also got the Diggs Bills thing going on here. It'd be a really, really exciting AFC Championship, but I have the New England Patriots going to the Super Bowl. Drake May, in his first full year in the NFL, his second year in the league, going to the Super Bowl. Over to the NFC Divisional, I have Niners at Seahawks and Panthers at Bears. I'm going to take the Bears to beat the Panthers. I think I've already pushed the Panthers maybe a little too far. And you guys know I think this Bears team's great. The Bears would actually probably murder the Panthers the way the Bears play. It would be really bad for the Panthers. So, Niners at Seahawks. I have the Niners winning here. I'm also kind of keeping in touch with the fact that the Niners will probably make the NFC Championship somehow. I think the Niners can beat the Seahawks. It would be the third time they've played also. And I see the Niners playing a much better game than they played Week 18. So I see the Niners beating the Seahawks. And that would give us a Niners at Bears NFC Championship. And I think you guys know by how high I am on this Chicago team that I'm taking the Chicago Bears to go to the Super Bowl. That is right. 2 quarterbacks from the 2024 NFL Draft, the number 1 pick and the number 3 pick, in the Super Bowl. 2 second-year starters, 2 young teams, 2 head coaches in their first year with their teams. Patriots, Bears, Super Bowl 60, a rematch of Super Bowl 20 with probably the most famous NFL team ever, 1985, the 85 Bears, the team that captivated the masses. What would be an electric Super Bowl? I'm taking the Patriots to win, and I truly do believe the New England Patriots can win the Super Bowl. Does it feel a few years too early? Hell yes. Are the Bears now doing the 2021 Bengals thing, even though they're 2 seed? I know it's still overperforming. Hell yeah. But do I believe it? Yes, I do, because sometimes the NFL is too cute. I've talked about this before. In a year where Mahomes isn't in the playoffs, Lamar isn't in the playoffs, Burrow isn't in the playoffs, I don't see Darnold and I'm trying to think of what the AFC equivalent would be. I love Nixie, but Nixie being the Super Bowl, I don't. I think you see 2 new faces that the NFL's like, hey, yeah, those guys are still good. Don't get us wrong. They're going to be around a while, but they're in the middle point of their careers. Look at these 2 young guys fighting out, and these are 2 of your new top stars. Now, I don't think Caleb Williams is anywhere near the level of Drake May. He isn't. We're going to have to see what he can do over time, because I still think there's a chance Caleb Williams gets better. Because the problem with Caleb Williams is, I've said before, I'm not high on him. I don't think he's that good. But then I'm watching him every once in a while. He makes a play that's just absolutely absurd. So I can't fully hate. But to me, it just seems a little too cute, right? You got all these top quarterbacks out, and then we've got the crowning of a new top guy. Drake May winning a Super Bowl before Josh Allen, before Lamar Jackson, before Joe Burrow, for all those guys other than Mahomes. And now you pretty much definitively got to throw him in the top 5 combo, and that to me would be pretty awesome. Now, Patriots-Rams would also be a really fun Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong. Broncos being the Super Bowl, I would love to see. There's really like no bad matchups. Honestly, as long as the Eagles or Niners isn't in it, I'm happy. I don't think this Niners team is that fun. You guys know I used to be a big Brock Purdy guy. I'm not anymore. I don't think the Eagles being in it would be interesting. But really anything but that is fun to me. We are going to have, I think, a new, whoa, this guy. Because like I said, in 5 years, it's not going to be a Super Bowl you look back and think it's weird. It's going to be one that made sense. And I think the Bears are going to consistently be good for a while here. And I think the Patriots might be the new Kansas City Chiefs. This would be the year that decides it, is if they win the Super Bowl this year, it's like, oh shit. Because they're probably going to be better next year. And if they win the Super Bowl with Drake May in his first full year, whoa. Whoa. So that is it from me, though. That is officially my 2025-2026. Well, I guess it's the 2026 NFL playoffs. So the 2026 NFL playoffs and Super Bowl 60 prediction. Patriots over Bears. A rematch, 40 years in the making, which also is cute, right? I'm saying sometimes the NFL guys are just a little too cute. Just saying. Because when the Chiefs won their Super Bowl with Mahomes, it was 50 years after Super Bowl IV, the only other Chiefs Super Bowl win. And now it's been 40 years since the Bears made the Super Bowl where they beat the Patriots. What if you did it again and you bring back, you can talk about the 85 Bears, blah, blah, blah. Where was that Super Bowl at? I want to look that up. Let's look up Super Bowl 20. Where was it at? If it was in San Francisco, I'm going to lose it. Super Bowl 20. It was in New Orleans. So never mind. All right, that's it. It's midnight. See you all.